So what we're seeing in Saudi Arabia at the moment is a brutal crackdown on anyone who dares to criticize the government. Peaceful activists, women's rights activists, political writers, bloggers have faced imprisonment and detention. They've been persecuted simply for expressing their opinion. Now we're getting to close to a year where prominent women's rights activists, including people like Loujain al-Hathloul, who championed for the right to drive in Saudi Arabia, who has been calling for women to have basic freedoms inside the country, they have been detained and they've now been formally charged. And they face charges for activities like promoting women's rights, for calling for the end of the male guardianship system, even for applying for a UN job. These women have not only been unjustly imprisoned, but they've also faced torture. And they include things like flogging, facing electrical shots, facing sexual abuse. The conditions have been so bad that it's led to one detainee attempting suicide. We have seen members of the international community speak out and call for these women's rights activists and human rights defenders to be released from prison. But we've only heard silence from the US government. This is a government that has strong ties to Saudi Arabia. The US is one of its strongest allies. It has economic and security ties to the kingdom and has refused to use its leverage over the Saudi Arabian government and call for this end to this human rights repression that's taking place inside the kingdom. Many governments around the world and allies of Saudi Arabia and the Crown Prince embraced this so-called era of reform that's taking place in Saudi Arabia. They essentially glorified the new Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. And so by doing that, they are effectively defending and supporting this sort of repression taking place inside the country. These sort of promises are completely empty and absolutely hypocritical when the government is imprisoning and persecuting the very activists and people that are calling for peaceful reform inside the kingdom. We need governments, including the US government, to send a strong message to the Saudi Arabian authorities that defending women's rights is not a crime, and defending human rights is not a crime, and that there is a clear need to end this repression of human rights inside the kingdom.
Hey NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.